What if the first warning signs of dementia aren't about memory at all, but something far more subtle and far more disturbing? Long before names slip away or confusion sets in, the brain starts sending out quiet signals, strange changes in daily behavior that most people overlook. Even doctors miss them. But these early signs can appear 5 to 10 years before memory loss begins, when there's still time to notice and possibly take action. In this video, you'll discover 9 strange daily habits that may be the brain's first silent alarm, and why ignoring them could be the biggest mistake of all. Let's begin. Number 1. Repeating tasks they just did. Karen, 71, had just finished washing the dishes when her daughter found her at the sink doing it again. "I just don't remember doing them," she admitted. This started happening with laundry, brushing her teeth, and locking the front door. At first, her family thought it was harmless forgetfulness. 3 years later, Karen was diagnosed with early-stage Alzheimer's. This habit reflects breakdown in short-term memory and task-tracking systems, especially in the hippocampus. The brain fails to register that something was recently completed, so the person repeats it automatically. A medical review found that repetitive actions, especially when tied to routine tasks, are common in the earliest stages of dementia, even when standard memory tests still appear normal. Number 2. Avoiding showers or basic hygiene. Linda, 78, was always clean and put together until she suddenly refused to shower. She insisted she'd already bathed, or said she didn't feel like it. Her family assumed it was depression, but soon she also stopped brushing her hair and changing clothes. Eventually, a neurologist confirmed she was showing signs of mixed dementia. This isn't laziness or stubbornness. It's a loss of executive function. The brain struggles to manage multi-step routines, like undressing, adjusting water temperature, or drying off. It may also involve sensory confusion, where water feels threatening or disorienting. A study revealed that hygiene neglect is one of the earliest observable functional declines in individuals later diagnosed with dementia. Number 3. Eating the same food over and over. Paul, 73, became obsessed with peanut butter toast. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's all he wanted. He refused to eat anything else. For over a year, his diet didn't change. At first, his family joked about it. But when he began showing signs of apathy and emotional flatness, he was screened for cognitive decline later that year. The result? Early frontotemporal dementia. This behavioral rigidity reflects a loss of cognitive flexibility, often linked to frontal lobe degeneration. The brain prefers predictable, repetitive patterns and struggles to adapt or seek variety. Recent data suggests that rigid eating behaviors and loss of dietary variety can precede other symptoms of dementia, particularly in frontotemporal subtypes. Number 4. Talking to themselves frequently. Joanne, 76, started having full conversations aloud when no one else was around. Sometimes she'd be heard laughing or whispering responses in the next room. When her son asked who she was talking to, she simply said, "Just thinking out loud." But over time, her comments became stranger, and she began confusing imagined scenarios with real ones. 4 years later, Joanne was officially diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. This habit is tied to dysfunction in the temporal lobes, where inner speech and reality filtering are regulated. In early dementia, the brain may struggle to distinguish between private thoughts and spoken dialogue, leading to externalized self-talk or conversations with imagined people. Experts report that increased verbalization of internal thoughts, especially when it becomes frequent and disconnected, can be an early behavioral sign of cognitive impairment. Number 5. Putting non-food items in the fridge or oven. George, 72, kept misplacing everyday items, but not in usual spots. His wife found the TV remote in the freezer, a hairbrush in the microwave, and his reading glasses inside a cereal box. When asked, he looked confused and couldn't remember putting them there. 5 years later, his doctor confirmed Alzheimer's disease. This strange habit reflects a breakdown in environmental recognition and object location association. Early signs of parietal lobe dysfunction, where the brain begins to confuse the purpose or typical placement of everyday items. Findings confirm that placing inappropriate objects in odd locations, especially appliances, is a strong behavioral clue in early-stage Alzheimer's. Number 6. Overcleaning or repeated hand washing. Wayne, 74, began scrubbing the kitchen counters 10 times a day. He also washed his hands after touching anything, even his wife's body or his own clothes. When asked why, he couldn't explain it. His family assumed it was a quirk of aging or anxiety, but over time, it turned into an all-consuming obsession. He kept doing it for 5 long years until a neurologist finally confirmed early-stage Alzheimer's. This obsessive behavior reflects behavioral perseveration, a neurological loop in which the brain gets stuck on a single action. It often appears when executive control in the frontal cortex starts to break down, especially in frontotemporal, or Alzheimer's dementia. Research confirms that compulsive cleaning and ritualistic hand washing, when newly developed in later life, may be an overlooked behavioral symptom of cognitive decline. Number 7. Becoming fixated on a single activity or hobby. Richard, 74, started doing crossword puzzles obsessively. What used to be a casual interest became an all-day fixation. He would skip meals and ignore visitors just to finish more puzzles. His wife said, "He used to love so many things. Now it's just this." When he began forgetting names and misplacing important things, a neurologist confirmed signs of cognitive decline. This intense fixation is a form of behavioral perseveration, the inability to shift focus or adapt routines. It's often seen in frontotemporal dementia, where the brain's ability to switch tasks and manage impulse control begins to fail. Research suggests that sudden obsessive routines in daily life may point to underlying brain deterioration, particularly in areas responsible for attention, decision-making, and flexibility. Number 8. Talking to inanimate objects as if they're alive. Beatrice, 75, began chatting with her toaster and answering questions she imagined her coffee mug was asking. When her daughter confronted her about it, she insisted they were just keeping her company. At first, the family thought it was loneliness, but soon, Beatrice began confusing real people with imaginary ones. She was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia 2.5 years later. This eerie behavior reflects early dysfunction in the temporal lobes, where object perception, memory, and emotional attribution converge. The brain begins assigning lifelike qualities to inanimate things, a phenomenon known as personification. A clinical study linked this kind of behavior to early-stage hallucinatory-prone dementias, particularly Lewy body and some frontotemporal variants. Number 9. Misplacing objects on purpose with paranoia. Frances, 77, began hiding her jewelry in unusual places, like inside cereal boxes or behind the toilet tank. When asked why, she'd say, "You never know who's watching," but then she'd forget where she placed them and accuse her family of stealing. It wasn't long before her doctor identified signs of early-stage Alzheimer's with paranoia. This behavior blends memory loss with fear-based thinking, a combination commonly seen in early Alzheimer's and Lewy body dementia. The person hides belongings to feel safe, but the brain's declining memory causes confusion and misplaced blame. A new report shows that new-onset paranoia combined with object hiding is a common early behavior in neurodegenerative disorders and is often overlooked until it escalates. These strange daily habits may look harmless, but they're not. Each one reflects a subtle change, deep inside the brain, appearing years before memory loss or confusion begins. The key is knowing what to look for. The earlier these signs are spotted, the more time there is to slow, manage, or even push back what's coming.
And there you have it. What are your thoughts? Next, dive into this video for more essential tips to transform your health and help you thrive. You're going to love it. Thanks for watching Healthy End, and we'll see you there.